You're listening to the Warriors of Dystonia Podcast, a podcast sharing the stories and journeys of people whose lives are affected by dystonia. My name is Carl and I'm the creator of Warriors of Dystonia. I've had dystonia since 2007 and I started this project to spread awareness of the condition. Each podcast will be a chat with someone who either has dystonia, cares for someone with dystonia, a representative from a dystonia charity, or perhaps a dystonia specialist. Warriors of Dystonia is all about awareness. The following podcast is with my friend Eugene, who lives in Alberta, Canada. This is his journey, a journey that led to him having an amputation as a way of treating his dystonia. Awesome to finally meet you, man. Awesome.
Yes, pleasure.
Yeah, no, I remember, I can still remember the day that I reached out to you because I'd only just got set up on Instagram and I'd seen your profile on there and I was like, I need to talk to this guy, because I was coming up with the idea for my book at the time. So,
I love to get awareness out there. So, not just for dystonia, but I don't want anybody to make the same mistake I did and go the surgical route because, god damn, man, it ruined my life. It started in 2007. I was getting out of a truck to pick up a piece of paper that blew out, and I stepped in a gopher hole that was covered in snow, and I hurt my ankle. No big deal. You finish your thing, and anyway, when we got back to the shop, when I tried to take my boot out, my foot out of my boot, that's when I collapsed. And then I knew, something, I thought I just sprained it really bad. Went to the hospital, I think a day later, and they said that I tore all my muscles and ligaments. So, that's fine. They booked the surgery. And it was after the first surgery that I just felt like almost like a pull. While my foot was in the cast, like those air boot casts, I could feel a bit of pulling, and I just thought that was normal. And then when they took the boot off, my foot started to slowly invert. They didn't know what was going on, so they went back in for a second surgery, and they drilled a hole through my bone to tighten my ligaments and stuff up, I guess, really tight. As soon as they took that cast off, my foot, same thing, went back inverted. So then they just shot me from specialist to specialist. Eventually somebody diagnosed me with having dystonia. Now for him, he said it was, for all the neurologists I've seen, they're all the same thing. It's very bizarre. A case, nobody's ever seen anything like this. So I worked, I got a different job. I operated heavy equipment. So it's a lot easier on my ankle and stuff like that. From 2008 to 2017, I worked on the oil rigs, operating heavy equipment. They dealt with the pain. With my dystonia, I figured out a way to manage. I'm a size 11 foot, and I figured that if I get a size 13, it gives my foot enough room to curve. So I got away with it for many years. And then one day it was winter time, and I slipped off some rig matting, and I don't remember anything. I knocked myself out. The consultant's the one that found me on the ground, got me on my feet, and then my dystonia really locked up, basically. Couldn't unfree it, I guess, because my muscles were so spasming so bad. My neurologist, my specialist said, well, I don't know what else to do. Let's just amputate, and then they, I'm from the leg, beneath the knee, the spasms that I'm doing, that's like all day, every day. It never stops, man, all the way up. So they thought, well, amputate, and I get the idea. Amputate, throw on a prosthetic, good to go, right? After they amputated, almost immediately my leg just started to hop. They gave me more meds to calm me down and whatnot. Eventually it just, about 2 to 3 days it took, and then my leg just started just hopping like it does. And the spasms, I don't even know how to describe them. Like the muscle cramps that I get are like almost like a bad Harley horse can go away. And then the Jesus, see what I did these where I move back and stuff. It's the jolt, like almost like a shock that firing all the time. Eh? Some are bigger than the others. It's a battle on all kinds of gabapentin. I think I'm 2,800 milligrams of gabapentin, hydromorphine, ketamine, Dilaudid, muscle relaxers, cannabis. Oh my God! Like I have to admit, cannabis really kind of saved my ass a little bit. By no means is it a painkiller. I find for me, mentally, it makes it a little bit easier to cope, depending on if you're smoking it or eating it, right? But I do what I can just to get by. I really don't do anything. I'm in my bedroom all the time, man, like 24/7. When I feel good, I take advantage of that. But I'm not so happy because I get days where I'm not so bad. Well, not so much days, more like hours is how I live. So we know when we go out, if I have a good day with the pills, we got about 4 hours of good out time. Then we got to think about pulling the plug and heading back, It's affected the kids. And my son, he sleeps in the same room as me. He refuses to sleep in his own room because I've been taken out of the house so many times by ambulance, fire department, because I'm a big man. I'm 350. When they were younger, and my son just turned 13, so it messed them up. My daughter, she dealt with it a little better. She's 11, but my son, it hit him really hard. So to this day, when he goes to get up to pee or something, I'll feel him put his hand on my face to make sure. It makes me cry sometimes. It's shit, man. It's not fair. It's tough. They think it was the surgery, the first surgery. They think that he nicked a nerve. Like they've done research since my incident, and they found a few dystonia cases in the U.S. where the same kind of thing happened. So it's not unheard of, but it's rare again. I didn't find this out actually until about 2 years ago when I had a pain specialist come to my home, which was really rare for Canada. But he came to my house and did this big interview with me, and he had another associate with him, and they were looking through all the papers, and that's when they figured that's when it happened. Was the first surgery? He must have nicked something, and just triggered something in my brain. And Jesus, I've never heard of dystonia before this happened to me. It's when they said dystonia, I was like, what the hell is that? It still kind of, to this day, kind of makes me shake my head. My spouse is, moved almost from the spouse role to the caregiver. It's a weird transition. It's hard to explain how that happens. It's, because she helps with I can't, I'd be in a lot of trouble if I was on my own. Sometimes when I do like my posts, I'll actually do the hashtag there. I'll put Parkinson's in it because people just don't, they can't relate to the two. So my hope is, well, if they click on Parkinson's, they can see, well, oh wow, it's kind of like that. I don't know whether people get that or not. I don't know, but that's what they call it, is Parkinson's dirty cousin. Like I said, I never heard of it. I probably never would. If this wouldn't have happened to me, I probably wouldn't still not know what dystonia is.
Yes.
And it's sad because in order to get a cure or even a way to cope better with this, that takes money. donations or where your money, all your research comes from. If you don't know about something, how are you going to donate to it? That's kind of a predicament for the foundations. I bet. I don't wish this on anybody. This is it's for me. It's the never being at ease. Even when I'm on my good days, I have to watch. You gotta watch the way I move. If I bump my leg a certain way, And at home, and it sounds funny, but the least I do, the better I am. So if I like lying here like this is mostly what I'll do. I'll get on my floor and I'll do some exercises and whatnot. But yeah, the way I am now is I'm pretty much the way you see me all day. And everything's set up in my room. My fridge is there, like a little mini fridge, so that if she goes out or something, I have everything I need. It's just a weird way to live. I never thought I'd end up like this. I tell you that. Outdoor guy, tough guy back in my day, before 2017 hit me. Yeah, I was a very different person. And this just knocked me right down to, I don't even know myself anymore. What it's done, it's just destroyed you. Usually it takes a couple hours and then I'll know how I'm going to be. By 10, between 10 and noon, sounds funny, but I could tell if I'm going to have a good day or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mornings are always shitty because I don't sleep really well at night. Sometimes I'll go to bed at 2 o'clock, 3 in the morning. All when my body lets me pass out. It's not like I could just, put my head down and go to sleep. But when my leg decides to stop screwing around, I sleep. A lot depends on that too. If I get a good night, I know I'll have a few hours of good time. So it's really luck, man. It's sometimes I'll just bite the bullet, and I'll go out whether I'm bouncing or not. Like I have a power wheelchair, so it's a lot easier to get around. But still, even then, like I don't want to be in public, doing that, like spasming and grunting and stuff like that. So on a good day, I'll make sure that I'll take extra gabapentin, extra painkillers to make sure that I have sufficient time with the kids. Because for me, it's all about the kids, right? We'll do anything that they want to do. Like, last time we went to this big arcade thing. So I try to do what they want and spoil them rotten. We miss out on a lot, They've seen a lot of stuff kids should really not have seen, like when I'm really spasming to the point where we're debating to call an ambulance, it's hard for them, whether you tell them to go in another room. I'm not quiet, I'm grunting and yelling. It's hard for them. They've lived with it. They were born in the same year I got hurt, so they've grown up with it. But as they've gotten older, it's gotten worse, which sucks, When I was younger, like I said, I worked for years, and I popped a lot of Percocets, but I managed responsibly. I wasn't one of those, pill poppers, like, oh, I'm going to take 4. That's screwed, I'll take 8. I was never that guy. I had an important job, and people's lives were in my hands, so to speak. And when you're operating an excavator and, people are inches away from you got to be on your toes. You can't be high. And I'd operate in pain all the time. So it was kind of it was different. I've actually busted on an excavator. There's 2 controls, right and left hand. I've actually snapped a controller right out of the controller, spasming. It just was trying to move a pallet at the same time I was spasming, and I just snapped it off. Now that was a little hard to explain, but I did it for years, And what that last fall is what really did me in. The amputation was horrible. I don't know what my doctor was thinking. I mean, I do, but as a neurologist, my opinion, and I mean, he kind of should have known a little better. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but the more research I've done, the more I was shaking my head, thinking, like, what were you thinking? You know, because I dealt with it for years, and then when when it was locked up, I kind of got, look, the idea to me was, it made sense in my head. I did my research on prosthetic. I looked at, I looked at people, and Jesus, they look pretty normal. They walk better than I did with my leg crooked. My kids were like, Dad, that's cool. You should get that one. If somebody would have said to me, we're going to do the amputation, but you could possibly become worse if you do this, I would have said, yeah, no, I'll walk with crutches the rest of my life. I would have been fine with that. This, like, oh, Carl, this is the worst thing. Like, for anybody that ever, I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen to this, but please don't ever consider surgical options. Like, I'm begging you, don't. Oh God, don't do it. Like, just, it's a great idea, yeah. I mean, the technology for prosthetics is amazing, but you don't know what's in there. Like, what nerve are sending the signal to your head saying, let's shake, or and to screw with them even more was a stupid idea. Just stupid. And it makes me angry every time now I go see my neurologist and we talk about, because I'm very polite. I'm not an asshole anymore. So his stories about his family. His kids are in Europe. I can't do that. I'll never be able to afford to do that for my kids anymore. Like, I was making $625 a day before I got hurt. They bumped me down to like 40,000 because they cut my thing saying I wasn't full time. I'm seasonal. I've never took a day off, like, ever. So it's like, you son of a bitch. My company threw me under the bus because I went on WCB. They wanted me to go and say that I fell at my house and collect private insurance. So when my wife said, no, they just totally shit on me. Totally dropped. Like, it was unbelievable, actually. So that was a little disappointing too, because then we were totally on our own then. And people, you lose touch with everybody, man. Like, I got Facebook and my Instagram, but I really don't have friends because I don't really want people to see me like this all the time. Not just that, but people's lives. I'm still friends with the people I was friends with when I was working. So they're still squatting, they're still hunting, they're going boating, they're and yeah, it bothers me. Not so much for me, but my son. Like, we were just starting. I just bought brand new quads right before I got hurt. And we ended up selling everything because, what are I can't ride. So it took their passion away too, right? So, yeah, it was a bad thing that they brought to me, I guess. Not surgical is definitely not the way to go. If there was a way to disconnect the nerves in the back of your neck, I'd say it's perfect. You're talking about a signal that's getting mixed up in your brain. The brain, we really don't know the whole. To think that everybody's dystonia would affect the same parts of the brain, I just can't see it. How do you how do you come up with a medical cure or even try to make it better when everybody's is a little different. So yeah, I could see the dilemma in the research. I really can. And I thought the same thing. I asked my neurologist, can't you cut like my nerves or something? It is what it is. I mean, I've accepted the fact that I'm the way I am, but it still doesn't make it easier. Like, what's gonna happen when I'm 65 and I gotta retire? I don't have a pot to piss in. I can't get a savings. Like Carl, I'll show you my bank, and I bet you I got $300 in my bank because you just can't live. When I was making good money, like $625 a day here in Canada is good money. You know, we lived a good life, you know, and now it's very simple, you know, we're in a duplex, you know, yeah, it's changed every aspect. All from a bad decision is the way I'm looking at it now is just, yeah, from a bad decision that my doctor should have known better. You're a neurologist, you know what's back there. So what would you think that screwing with nerves would be okay? You know, that's the way I see it. I mean, I'm not a smart person. Like I got like a grade 5 education, so I was never really bright to begin with. It's hard for me to do the proper research, you know, that I really needed to do before my amputation. And I was just too trusting. He was looking out for my best interests, but at the time, I feel like, you know, I feel kind of cut short, I guess. Is if you would have spent a couple of days just researching it a little bit more, then you would have been like, yeah, that's not a good idea. My foot was always inverted, and once in a while, I could get it to relax. It's not that it was always stuck. When I went to him, it was stuck at that point. So I think possibly we should have just gave it some more Botox and just waited to see what happened. But I just feel that he kind of, well, this is a great decision. Let's just go with it, and we're good to go. Never bothered with it again. Whereas if you would have said, oh, let's do an amputation, and then, you know, a couple days later you scratch his head going, you know, I wonder if that was a good idea. Let's check into that. You know, here in Alberta, the doctors are so overrun that they don't have the proper time to spend with you to really to do the research that they need to do. Like, I mean, to get an appointment with my doctor takes me 3 months. That's just to get Botox. My Botox again. So the doctors are just overrun, and they bitch because they're underpaid, right? So that's where I kind of got lost, was the pissing match between the doctors and the government, and that's how I honestly feel. But at the end of the day, I made the decision. I let them do it, so it's on me. I'm just picking up the pieces, you know, so to speak. I make sure my kids have what they want. I'll try to get them. I spend. I pay for all my own medications. Right now, there's a big opiate thing. I don't know if it's like that where you live, but opiates are a huge epidemic here. They've clamped on all the doctors to get to get meds. Even my pain doctor is 7 hours away. That's because I couldn't find another doctor to deal with me. You know, I went to a pain clinic. They said it's in my head. If you stop taking your pills, your dystonia will diminish. And I'm like, I'm leaving now. I got 5 kids and 3 grandkids. They keep me smiling. That's what keeps me going. Because life has definitely changed. But you know, we make the best of what we have. I got a power wheelchair. Whether I'm feeling good or not, I'll take the kids around the block or something on their bike and stuff. Last year was the first time I've been able to ride with my daughter on a bike. So that was amazing for me because it was the first time I really got to bond The power wheelchair has definitely freed things. We got a van now to put the wheel to so I can just get my wheelchair in there. Really changed their lives too. But everything costs. I have to buy my own pills, like I was saying, because they don't believe in opiates here. So I'm paying for those plus cannabis. I'm spending about 1,400 a month with just my pills and my cannabis is about $1,000 because it's not cheap. You know, like I don't smoke flower. I smoke what do you call it? Concentrates, which comes in little jars like this, and it's basically a reformed method of cannabis. They extract a bunch of the THC from the plant. If I take two puffs of that, that's basically equal to like a joint, and it doesn't smell like weed, and it's very very strong. Like it you know, the first time I tried it, a friend bring weed the first time to get me to because at the time I was on a lot of meds, and sometimes I would drool because I was so messed up. So my friend came and tried the weed, and I couldn't stand it. I was coughing, but it did help. He said, "Okay, well, the weed's not going to work for you," and she hates the smell. A couple of days later, he brought shatter. It's called. It's another form of cannabis, and it's like the concentrate, and I put it in a pen. Okay, that's way better. That's what I'm talking about. But we sat the kids down. We gave them a choice. Do you want that on the pills or on the cannabis? They chose the cannabis. So it was a bit of a process, but I came down on my pills and went up with my cannabis. And eventually, I'm the way I am now. Like if I took more pills, Carl, I wouldn't be jolting and I wouldn't be as bad. But at the same time, I'd be pretty dumb. You know, you got the nods, you know, the typical pain nods, over medicated. That's what I would have to be to feel somewhat normal, where I'm not bouncing around. And the kids, they don't want that. Like that's embarrassing. They want, yeah, exactly, right. For Christmas concerts and a lot of the times I feel embarrassed for the kids. So I'll tell them like I don't have to go, guys. Like and they'll get mad at me. Like they'll no, like they love their dad. Bouncing, shaking, it doesn't matter. My son's the same. He'll be Dad. Don't worry, I got you. So he's, you know, they're good kids. They're really good kids. My even my oldest son, he just turned 30, and he actually moved back to the house. He lives with us now, just to help because there's been a few times where I've got stuck in the tub because I couldn't get out at the same time as I'm. Because when I get really bad spasms, I hold my leg, and I don't know what it is, but the more pressure I put, the more control I kind of have over the jolts, which is kind of weird. I don't know if it's putting pressure on the nerves, and it seems to help. So I'll squeeze, and trying to get out of a tub when you're doing that makes it hard as hell. So my son's here, because he's a big boy. He's 6 foot. He's got to be 6'2", close to 300 pounds. So he's a big boy. So we're very family oriented. Like now, especially because since this has happened, and I'm blessed. I really am. I'm truly blessed that I have the life. I mean, I could be worse, right? I could be by myself. My family. Look, people can. I don't see a lot of people sticking around. A lot of spouses getting my lunches, my dinners, it's making sure my pills are done, making sure that the blister packed them right at the pharmacy. It's a lot, and it's something I can't do on my own. So everything's on her. Getting the kids ready, getting the kids, like it's a lot on your spouse. it's a lot of pressure, and yeah, I really think if I had somebody else, I don't think I would. I think I'd be on my own. I really do. I'm just very lucky. Um, she's changed my life twice, so she's a good girl, man. She's, I used to be a bad boy back in the day, and I met her in a video store. Ever since then, she kept me out of trouble, and I never went. I'm from Montreal, and I came out here just to lay low. At my dad's, he lived in a little village, so I just went there to lie low, and I ended up, bored. So what do? You rent videos.
Yep.
And that's where I met her. So, yeah, she made my life then, and she's still doing it now. So I'm lucky.
Man, it's been really, really nice meeting you.
Yeah, for sure, brother. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
I can't stress how lovely it was to talk to Eugene and how much I enjoyed having that chat with him and listening to his experience. There was about 30 minutes that were actually removed from the podcast, which was just myself and Eugene chatting about things and talking about life in general. With this being the first podcast and with me just sort of trying the water and seeing how I want this show to go forward, I thought I would just keep it trimmed down to his story and his journey with dystonia. I'm very interested, anyone listening out there, about your feedback on this, whether you would like to hear, the general chat that happens as well outside of the stories, just to give me an idea of how you see this podcast or how you would like this podcast to go. I'm doing this podcast for all of my dystonia brothers and sisters out there and people whose lives that are affected by dystonia. This is not my podcast, this is our podcast, so I'd very much love to have your input on this. If you'd like to be on the podcast and you'd like to share your story, please do get in touch with me. You can either get me at the Warriors of Dystonia website, which is warriorsofdystonia.wordpress.com. You can also find me on Instagram, just look up Warriors of Dystonia, and I'm also on Facebook under Warriors of Dystonia as well. So thank you so much for listening, and again, Eugene, mate, thank you so much. It was an absolute honour. I loved it. All the best to you and your family, and take care, everyone that's listening.